Oh, good. All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another live session from the series Engineering Qualification Validation in Australia. And in this live session, I will be talking about how to choose the right career or the right experience for your career episode. But first, for those that don't know me, my name is Gerson Ida, and I'm the founder of the website www.engineersinaustralia.com, a website to share content of value and useful information to help you in your journey to validate your engineering qualification in Australia. And I also share information about workplace health and safety, environmental management, day-to-day of engineering in Australia, and about professional engineering recruitment. And also, if you haven't joined my Telegram group yet, you can use the link that I'm going to paste in Facebook and YouTube. If you're watching on Instagram, the link is in my bio. I have a group in Telegram. Telegram is like a WhatsApp. It's a messaging app where I post audios, videos, and other things related to engineering qualification. And we've got more than 800 members in the group. And if you know any other engineer that would benefit in having information about the validation process, feel free to share the link with them. So I'm just pasting in Facebook and YouTube. And important to say that in the Telegram group, I will be posting the PDF of this live session. There will be some conditions for the PDF to be posted, so you just need to make sure that you stay with me during the live session. And also, if you're interested in the free workshop, I want to become an engineer in Australia, you can also register for free. The next workshop is going to be in December. It's going to actually start 5th of December. And if you want to register for free, the link is in the comments as well. And those ones on Instagram, the link is in my bio as well. So the link in my bio in Instagram, once you click in there, it will open up a few buttons. And one of the buttons is to join the Telegram group. The other button is to do the registration for the free workshop. So let's get down to the business now. And I'm really happy to be here to share my experience in the engineering qualification validation process to help you to make your journey a little bit easier. I know that some of you guys probably having some difficulties to do your validation process, and the information that I'm sharing here every Sunday and in my workshops is to make your life a little bit easier. So are you guys already working on your validation? It will be interesting for me to know what sort of audience I have. So if you have, perhaps you put yes in the comments. If you haven't started yet, maybe you put no. So I know if you are in the process of validating your qualification or not. All right, so without further ado, let's get down to the business now. And I will share with you the first tip to choose the right career and the right experience in your career episode. And why is it important? First of all, why is it important to choose the right experience, the right engineering experience as part of your career episode? Well, it's really important, and I'm going to say that's even more than important. It's critical to have the right experience. If you choose a wrong experience, you can even address all the competencies required by Engineers Australia, and the assessor may still not approve your career episode. So again, very important to choose the right career episode. And the first tip for you to choose the right experience is to understand the ANZ SEO occupation definitions. What is ANZ SEO? It stands for Australian and New Zealand standard classification of occupations. And this is the, the list of occupations and the definition of each occupation that is done by the Australian government, by the Australian Bureau of Statistics. It's a federal agency. And the Department of Home Affairs or Immigration Department, they use these definitions of occupations for their migration process. And Engineers Australia, they use the same definition of those occupations. So, for example, if you are if you are a civil engineer and you're trying to validate your qualification in Australia, you need to look at the civil engineer definition in the ANZ SEO occupation definition. Whatever is the definition in your home country, the country that you graduated, it doesn't matter. You need to make sure that the experiences, they align with the definition of ANZ SEO occupation definition. So I'll probably show you guys the website. And for that, let's see who's in the audience. Those ones in the audience, what sort of engineer are you? So I'm going to quickly do a Google search here, and then we can use an example of a definition, and then you will see if your experience perhaps is aligned with that occupation or not. So the first one that put in the comments, I would just make sure that I look at the comments for both Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. But the first one that puts in there, I'm going to choose as part of our little tutorial here. So let me see here. Not this one. Where's my Google? Yeah, that's the one. All right, so I'm going to, yes. All right, so who we've got here? Facebook. I think that I'm not quite sure your name, but must be Fernanda, probably, in Instagram. She's put environmental engineering. All right, so that's good. So let's have a look here how you actually double check that. So my live sessions, they are also a little bit of a tutorial, so I can help you to understand and give you some shortcuts. All right, so yeah, thank you very much, Fernanda. Is it Fernanda your name? Yes or not? Yeah, probably yes. So how do you do? You first probably just put ANZ SEO engineer in Google, and then once you do that, you will have this first website here, abs.gov.au. ABS stands for Australian Bureau of Statistics. So I always encourage you guys to always open the official website, the federal government website. So there will be other here with commercial companies, but always good to go to the federal and official website. So once you click on that, that's Australian Bureau of Statistics. So that's a federal site, which is good. And then you will find here minor group 233 engineering professionals. And then you will find here a list of different categories. And then Fernanda, she put environmental engineering. So environmental engineering, you will see that you're not going to find in the main categories here. So you will have to click here, other engineering professionals. And once you click on other engineering professionals, you will find here some other occupations. And one of them, 233915, it's the environmental engineer. So we'll go down and find the environmental engineer. Yes, that's here. So it says here, The environmental engineer assesses the impact on air, water, soil, and noise levels in the vicinity of engineering projects, plans and designs equipment and processes for the treatment and safe disposal of waste material, and assesses what may cause problems for the environment in the long term. So this is the definition that Engineers Australia will use for the environmental engineer when they are assessing your application. So Fernanda, so when you write your career episodes, you need to make sure that the experiences that you're going to use in your career episodes, they match with this definition here for the environmental engineer. So very important that when you choosing your career episode, your experiences, they need to match with this definition here. All right. Thank you very much, Fernanda. If we have a little bit of time, we'll go back to this page and we can have a look at another occupation. So I'll keep going with the content because we've got quite a few things to talk tonight. All right, so I will actually put in the comments this link here for the Australian Bureau of Statistics, because I think it's very useful for you guys to have a look. You can probably save in your favorites. So that's the one there. Where is the comments in Facebook? Yeah, those ones there. Okay. And also very important that when you're choosing your experiences, they need to be complex in nature. So the engineering experience needs to be complex in nature. And failing to choose a complex engineering experience will increase your chances to have your career episodes being rejected by Engineers Australia. So, and I'm going to talk about the complexity of those experiences a little bit later on. All right, tip number 2. I'll probably just show you guys how the PDF document is taking shape. So as I mentioned before, I'm preparing a PDF, and this is the PDF for tonight's session. I spent a little bit of time to prepare this material. So the first one is to understand the ANZ SEO occupation definitions. The second one is going to be what if my work experience is not matching the ANZ occupation definition? That's another difficulty that many engineers they face. They list all of those experiences, and then when they look at the definition of ANZ SEO occupation, they conclude that those experiences, they don't match with those definitions. And then what do you do if your work experience does not match with that? So what do you do then? You actually then, if your work experience is not good for the career episodes, or even if you are recently graduated engineer, which means that you don't have any work experience, the good news is that you can validate your engineering qualification you just using your academic engineering experience. Engineers Australia does not require work experience, and subsequently does not require Australian experience, academic or work. A lot of people, they ask me, Jerson, but I haven't worked as an engineer here in Australia. Can I still validate my engineering qualification? And the answer is yes, you can. You don't need work experience. You don't need Australian experience. You can use your engineering academic experience to validate your qualification. Obviously, you need to be careful what academic experience you will choose. Those academic experiences, they also need to be able to demonstrate the 16 competencies required by Engineers Australia. So they need to be technical. They need to have a good design component in those experiences. For example, I'm a civil engineer, and I remember that one of the subjects that I studied was sociology in civil engineering. So that was one of the subjects, and I had a report. I had to write the assignment, but I can say to you that this subject is not good as a career episode. It's certainly important until today, obviously, to know the knowledge about sociology in civil engineering, but to demonstrate the competencies of a civil engineer, professional civil engineer here in Australia, it's not a good choice. So just make sure that whatever experience you're going to choose in your academic life, it also matches with the definition of ANZ occupation definition. So that's tip number 2. And I'm going back to the PDF now. So for you to get this PDF, what I'm going to do, for those ones that they already follow my live sessions, and perhaps that's a good one, is this the first time that you follow my live session here tonight, or have you participated already in my live session? So if you are new to my live sessions, perhaps you put new in the comments. If you have participated already in my live sessions, perhaps you write old in the comments, so I know if you're new or if you're old, not in age, but participating in my live sessions. Because if you are old, you know that what I do, I take a picture of the post, and then I create a post in Instagram, and also I ask you guys to make comments. And if you like the post and make comments answering the question, I will then put the PDF in my Telegram group. So, and actually I'm going to do live now with you guys. So I'm going to put I took a picture of the PDF, and I'm going to write there. So write in the comments, write in the comments, and then share what your engineering experience will be. So, okay, and share. So that's going to, yeah. So if you go to my Instagram profile, you can see that I just posted the first page of the PDF asking, share in the comments what your engineering experience will be. So if you have chosen already your experience, you can share it. If you haven't chosen yet, you can still engage in the post and make a comment saying that you haven't chosen your experience yet. So obviously I'm asking for engagement, because then my post goes to more people, and I believe that the content is valuable and can help a lot of people. So I do these live sessions so the content goes to as many people as I can reach. And thank you very much, Rafael and Fernanda. You're saying that you're new to my live session. Yeah, hopefully I can see you every week, because this is live number 120, which means that every week I am here Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time, talking about a relevant subject about engineering, either engineering qualification. I also do lives about how you can get your first professional job here in Australia. I do live sessions with about workplace health and safety, environmental management, and other engineering subjects as well. So I hope to see you guys every week if you can. Tip number 3. And also there are some questions. If you guys have questions, you can probably put in the comments as well. And after tip number 3, I'm going through the questions, and I'm going to answer those ones as well. All right, tip number 3. So the question when you're choosing your experience is it a complex or not? Your experience. Is it a complex experience or is not a complex experience? As I mentioned before, it's very important that your experience is complex in nature. This is a common mistake that many engineers they make while choosing an experience for their career episode. And choosing an experience that is not complex in nature, where it will be difficult to demonstrate the application of engineering fundamentals in the narrative, it's going to put you in trouble. You need to remember that the assessment process, when the Engineers Australia assessor is looking at your application, the assessor will obviously look if you have addressed the 16 competencies. Engineers Australia, if you're not familiar with the validation process, Engineers Australia requires you to address 16 competencies. And if your experience is not complex in nature, it will be very difficult for you to address those 16 competencies. And therefore, if you do not address the 16 competencies, your chances to be approved by Engineers Australia will probably diminish. I'm not saying that you're going to be rejected, but certainly you're taking the risk of not being approved if your experience is not complex enough. But then a lot of people ask me, Jerson, but how do I know if the experience is complex or not? I am a civil engineer. I graduated in Brazil. I'm Brazilian. I graduated in Brazil in 1994. So it's been 20, how many years ago? 27 years ago. So I'm probably disclosing my age now. But each engineer will know the difference between a complex and a non-complex engineering experience in your field. For example, I'm a civil engineer, and I know what can be a complex and what can be a non-complex. A complex experience in this case could be, for example, if I am designing a structural component, let's say in reinforced concrete or pre-tension concrete or steel structure, or if I'm designing a bridge, if I'm designing a road, if I'm designing a dam, if I'm designing a water treatment system, if I'm designing a sewage treatment system, if I'm designing a stormwater drainage system, if I'm doing some soil mechanics assessment, those sort of engineering activities, I know that they are complex. But civil engineers in Brazil, they also do many other things in Brazil that are not complex. For example, if in the beginning of my career, I did a lot of house refurbishments. I did a lot of house renovations. I did land subdivisions. I did commercial fit-outs. I did a lot of probably residential designs that probably they were not very complex. Also a civil engineer job in Brazil. But here in Australia, it may not be the civil engineer job here in Australia. So you need to understand that what makes the experience a little bit more complex. If you cannot demonstrate that you used engineering judgment, if you haven't used technical standards, you didn't carry out some research or literature review, you didn't have to design or calculate, then it won't probably be a complex enough experience. You can always try to write a not too much complex engineering experience, but as I said before, you may run the risk of having your career episode not being approved or assessed as a lower category level. This can happen as well. You can write an experience that's not too complex, and then the assessor will say, you have two alternatives here. One, when they give you the feedback, one, you can rewrite your career episode and use a more complex engineering experience to demonstrate the professional engineer level, or you can still use this experience and then you will be assessed as an engineering technologist, for example, at a lower level category. That can happen. All right, we'll have a look at the questions there. Let's have a look. The first question was from Fernanda. I don't have experience. Can I use the TCC? TCC, for those that are not from Brazil, is the final assessment or final assignment of your graduation course. And the answer is yes, Fernanda, you could use, as long as your TCC also matches with the definition of the ANZ SEO occupation definition. Some of the TCCs, and I have a lot of engineers that they talk to me, some of my students of my online mentoring program, they talk to me and they explain about their TCC, and their TCC sometimes they are not really matching with the occupation definition. Some of the TCCs, sometimes they are just site visits or plant visits in factories, etc., and they just did a report of what they saw in the technical visit, which is not very complex, which you cannot really demonstrate, especially design capabilities. But if your TCC matches with the definition of your occupation definition from ANZ SEO, you certainly can use your TCC. Adriana, thank you very much, Adriana, for your question. She said here in Instagram, Gerson, can we use a design done in the master's degree here in Australia to validate the bachelor done in Brazil? Both same engineering. Yeah, the answer is probably you can. Again, the design needs to be relevant and the design needs to be a little bit complex. As long as you are validating your bachelor degree. I have already, for example, one of my students, he's environmental engineer, Walter, and he used one of his master's degree thesis as part of his career episode. So, and he was approved by Engineers Australia. So I can say that with experience that I had already with one of my students, that if you are going to use a design that you did as part of your master's here in Australia, and if it is relevant to the ANZ SEO occupation definition, you could use this design work in your career episode if you are validating your bachelor degree. So that shouldn't really be a problem. Have a look. Yeah, Rafael, although you're new here in the live session, but you're saying that you're watching in YouTube. Yeah, thank you very much. Another question there. Fernanda saying, how can I demonstrate in skills assessment an article that was published in a magazine? I'm taking that this article was written by you, Fernanda, I think. Because obviously you can just demonstrate the skills assessment and an article from an article published in a magazine, obviously if you were the author of that article. And I also understand that an article, sometimes it's a summarized version of probably a more complex engineering work that you did. Sometimes you do research and you do a lot of things, you do lots of calculations, etc., etc. And then in the article, then obviously you summarize the research that you did, you summarize the engineering work that you did. You're not going to probably put all the workouts of your design work in the article. You may put some, but and you probably have the supporting documentation of your article as well. So if that was your case, you can certainly use that one there as part of one of your experiences for your career episode. Let's have a look. Yeah, Fernanda said, my published TCC was lithium retention in soils in areas adjacent to those impacted by the Fundão Dam rupture, Mariana, Minas Gerais. Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, it looks like that is quite relevant, especially very, very recent as well. So looks like interesting. And when you look at the definition of the ANZ SEO occupation definition, it appears to be that it's relevant and it matches the definition. So looks like okay. And Fernanda is saying, yes, it was written by her, so which is good. So looks like this one could be one experience of your career episodes. But remember that in your validation process, you need 3 career episodes, so you need 3 experiences. All right, tip number 4, evidences of your engineering experience. So this step is also very important when you are choosing the experience for your career episode. And many times, engineers, they forget about this. And once the application is submitted without those evidences, it's very common that Engineers Australia assessor will ask for supporting documentation as evidences of your engineering experience. So what could be those supporting documentation? Well, they usually are pictures, photos, AutoCAD drawings, tables, calculations, diagrams, test results of your engineering experience that prove that you actually did the work that you are describing in your career episode. Remember, when you're writing your career episode, it's a narrative. And then you're going to say that I designed this and that, I did this test, I did this assessment, I calculated these stresses, etc., etc. So it's you saying, but you need to demonstrate with evidences everything that you said or you wrote in your career episode. So that's why it's very important that when you are referring to a table or a diagram from a technical standard, you actually put perhaps a screenshot of that, referencing that is a screenshot from the technical standard. If you created a table or a spreadsheet that you're referring in your career episode, it's important that you attach that in your career episode as well. If you have pictures or photos that you took as part of your work, it's important to have that, everything referenced that you did, or if you took from a technical standard, you got to reference that it was from the technical standard. All right, just conscious of time, guys. And also that PDF there, I'm going back to the PDF. So this PDF here, we've got all the tips, ANZ SEO occupation definition. If the work experience is not matching with the occupation definition, the complexity of those there, and also evidences of your engineering experience. It's all in this PDF that, again, you gotta go to my Instagram post, this one here that I just did now, and you need to like the post and write in the comments, share in the comments what your engineering experience will be. Oh, there's actually a typo there, sorry guys. I didn't see that. What your experience will be. Well, the post was already done, so not a problem. So write in the comments what your experience is going to be, and then if I have likes and comments, I will put this PDF in my Telegram group. If you're not part of my Telegram group, the link is in the comments, or in Instagram, you go to the link in my bio, and then once you click in the link in my bio, you have to open up a few buttons, and one of the buttons is to join the Telegram group. And this PDF is going to be protected by a password that just you guys will know, because I'm going to say now in the live session. And it's going to be a very easy password, so you guys know it. And the password is career episode. I'm going to put in the comments because people don't know what that word is going to be. So career episode in Instagram, put in the comments there, and Facebook, just put in the comments there as well. So that's going to be the password of this PDF document here. I'm just going to check for more questions. And I remind you guys that if you're interested in the free workshop, I would like to become an engineer. I want to become an engineer in Australia. You can register for the next event. You can click on the link that I left in the comments. And the opening webinar is going to be on the 5th of December. I'm just going to put in the comments again. So those ones that arrive a little bit late, you know where you can register for free. You just need to put your name, your email, and tick some of the boxes there, and you will receive an email with the confirmation. Very important that you check for the confirmation email. In the email, you will have a button that you can join my WhatsApp group as well for the workshop, where I'm going to send you reminders and the calendar of the workshop as well. In this workshop, in just 1 week, you will learn everything that you need to know to start your validation process. It's a full 1 week of events with live sessions, with videos that I'm going to send to your email, with webinars, and also live Instagram sessions where I give away free consulting services as well. So starting 5th of December, and that's going to be probably the last workshop of this year, to 2021. All right, I'm going to check with the questions. Rafael said in YouTube that he works building roads. He's got lots of experience with that. Yeah, that's certainly very interesting, Rafael. But one thing that I give you as a word of caution is that just construction work, sometimes it's not enough. You need to have some design components. So if you review designs, if you have designed roads or even bridges and other things related to infrastructure, it's very important to have those experiences. Just construction, sometimes it's not enough. You need to remember that the civil engineer, Engineers Australia is assessing you as a civil engineer. It's not assessing you as a construction manager. It's not assessing you as a project manager. And it's very common for them to say, if you are just putting experiences as a project manager, for example, you should be assessed as a project manager by the Australian Institute of Project Management, and you should apply in your migration process as a project manager. So if you're going to validate as an engineer because you want to migrate as a civil engineer, you need to remember that Engineers Australia will assess you as a civil engineer, and therefore you need to follow the ANZ SEO occupation definition. But anyway, thanks for your comments in YouTube as well. All right. I hope that these steps and tips, they have been helpful in your journey to validate your engineering qualification here in Australia. If you have any questions, you can send me a direct message. You can send me a message in Messenger. You can put in the Telegram group your questions, and I'll be answering them as well. Or you can send me an email. When you go to my website, www.engineersinaustralia.com, you will find a field that you can send me a message there as well. I would like to thank you guys very much for your participation tonight. And don't forget that next Sunday, 8:30 p.m. Brisbane time, I will be here and talking about another subject related to the engineering qualification validation. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next Sunday. See ya, and bye-bye.